Hello everyone, it's Chris with another review from Movie Club Strikes Back. This week was my pick and I chose Scaramouche from 1952 starring Stuart Granger. Again, this is one of my favorites and I was kind of interested to see what everybody else thought about it. Now, the story is set in pre-revolutionary France and centers around a guy named Andre Moreau, who is a bastard. He doesn't know who his father is, was raised by a foster family, and has been pretty much content not to know who his father is until the money that supported his lifestyle runs out, just when he actually needs money. You see, his foster brother Philippe is a revolutionary, a political radical, and has been part of a group that has been penning these political pamphlets and smuggling them into the castle, which has really irritated the Queen. So Andre and Philippe have to go on the run. They need money to do so. They don't have any, so Andre's going to approach his father for money when suddenly the money gets cut off. Hijinks ensue, and the story takes off from there. Scaramouche is an adaptation of a novel written by a guy named Sabatini. And there are a couple things that we see in the novel that kind of get brushed over in the adaptation, the film adaptation. And that's that Andre's quest for revenge runs parallel to the revolutionary ideals that are going on in France at the time. We kind of see this in the film because Andre's point for revenge domain is the champion of the crown, and Andre kind of gets folded into being the champion of the people. It's just weird that philosophically he doesn't really care about the revolution so much as he does seeking revenge. He just utilizes those revolutionary ideals as they'll allow him to get to domain. And it's easy to see why they put less emphasis on the whole revolutionary aspect in the film, because in 1952 Hollywood, there's less passion about the French Revolution than there would have been when the novel got published. But it doesn't take anything away from the story, and the movie's still enjoyable, so again, no points lost. There are a lot of things about this movie I really like, a lot of things I think they did really well. One, Stuart Granger, he plays an excellent role in this film. He has a lot of fun with it. In particular, his interactions with Eleanor Parker, who plays Lenore, the actress, and just how much fun they have on screen together. And that relationship is a little racy for 1952. I think they floated some stuff past the censor just by the skin of their teeth. In particular, that one scene where they kind of first reconcile, and they're having that fight inside the caravan, and the whole caravan's actually shaking somewhat suggestively. For 1952, I think that was a little risky, or risque. But either way, it works and it's fun to watch. Another thing I like about the characterization is the way that Andre Moreau and Dumaine are actually mirror images of each other. Their antagonism is very personal based. Dumaine is protecting the woman he loves in the form of the Queen, and Moreau is seeking revenge for his friend. So there's a very personal element to their antagonism towards each other, but it's also played out in a kind of national scale because Moreau represents the people and Dumaine represents the aristocracy. So it's very interesting that they're both kind of paragons for their respective sides. And I think that was cunningly done, both in the original writing and how it was portrayed in the movie. Another interesting aspect of the characterization of this is the dynamic between the two love interests for Andre Moreau, Eleanor Parker and Janet Leigh, kind of the actress and the lady. Because the actress, Lenore, she's very much that seductress. We see her very much on that red portion of the spectrum. Very much a passion kind of person. And again, plays that, very seductive, sexy sort of love interest for the hero. And on the other hand, we have Janet Leigh playing very much the prim and proper virginal princess. Very pristine, she's got the white hair, she's very innocent, very virginal. And I think it's interesting that they included both those typecasts as, the duality of feminine nature, at least how they kind of viewed it in the 1950s. Things were kind of black and white in those days. But it's interesting that they included both of those and the choice he makes there at the end. I like how they handled the training for Moreau. A lot of times in films when somebody's an excellent swordsman, they just kind of come into the movie as an excellent swordsman, as does Dumaine. But with Moreau, we kind of actually see his progression. And if I do give this movie one fault, it is the fact that they kind of make it look like Andre has become one of the best swordsmen in France in a matter of, if not weeks, at least several months, which is a little hinky. But for the the need for pacing of the film, I guess it works. This is one of the finest Hollywood swashbuckling films out there. Granted, it's not a pirate film, but it does fall pretty much in line with the Douglas Fairbanks, Errol Flynn movies. And I think Stuart Granger is right up there. He shows himself to be an excellent swordsman. And that final sword fight there at the end between Dumaine and Moreau is a great capstone for the film. It sums things up pretty nicely. It's fun to watch. It's exciting, excellently choreographed, good stunt work. Yeah, a little flashy and impractical as far as sword fighting goes, but again, that's not why we watch these movies. So, you know, again, one of my favorite scenes, and I think at this point is still the longest sword fight in cinematic history. So some interesting things about this movie. One, it was directed by a guy named George Sidney, who directed The Three Musketeers in 1948, starring Gene Kelly. And they were going to have Gene Kelly star in the role of Andre Moreau in this film, but MGM just contracted Stuart Granger, and they wanted to showcase him in something, and this was a good fit. So Stuart Granger got the role in this, and I think he nailed it perfectly. And I can't even really see Gene Kelly playing this. It would have been a completely different movie. Another thing would be that second duel between Dumaine and Moreau, where they're in the fencing schoolhouse, and Dumaine cuts the chandelier and it falls down to where Granger's lying and he rolls out of the way. Originally they had it where that chandelier was going to drop and it was going to stop a couple inches in front of Granger's face. But they were going to film that and they didn't do a rehearsal, and Granger said, well, why don't we put the brakes on and let's actually test the equipment first. And it was smart that he did so, because as soon as they dropped the chandelier, it broke its chain and crashed through the floor and probably would have killed them. That's my review for the movie Scaramouche. Again, obviously one of my favorites, so I recommend watching it at least once so you can say you watched the longest sword fight in movie history. If you liked it, there are a couple other great adventure stories that Stuart Granger stars in that are kind of similar. Beau Brummel, Prisoner Zinda, those are worth viewing as well when you get the chance. So go ahead and leave your comments below on what you thought of the movie. Of course, you can also check out the hashtag Movie Club Strikes Back to see what other movie clubbers had to say about this film and other films, and, you know, subscribe to their channels if you so wish. You can subscribe to this channel if you so wish, and until next time, keep doing what you do.